And you know what you're bringing up is expectations.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times people have unvoiced expectations. They think that, you know me, we've been hanging out forever. You
Right.
know what I expect, but you may not know what they expect. And I found myself, I think women do it. We get accused of doing it a lot. Men accuse us of, she always expects me to read her mind. You
Yeah.
know, we get accused of that a lot. And a lot of times women will say, well, I shouldn't have to tell you how to be a man.
Right.
You know? And I think it's just those expectations, and it's good to voice your expectations. I remember before I got married the second time, when I had just met, I was friends with my now deceased husband. I was friends with him for a while. We were just friends, and then we had this conversation one night. We talked for like 3 hours, and we talked about everything. Like, we're going to get into this relationship. So, what happens if one of us cheats? You know, what happens if one of us loses our job? What happens if this happens? How are we going to deal with this? How are we going to deal with that? How are we going to discipline the kids? How are we going to deal with the in-laws? How are we going to... We literally went through every single topic that we could think of, and we actually set up, in a sense, our boundaries. Like, what were what were his expectations of me? What were my expectations of him? And if those expectations weren't met, now while we're calm and we're feeling all lovey-dovey and we're wanting to commit to each other and all this kind of stuff, we actually sat down and talked about how we might react. So we actually brainstormed, like, how would I feel? How would I think? How would I react? And we just had this really long, like I said, it was like a 3-hour conversation. And we just set up just basically all night and just talked all these things out. And I had never done anything like that before. It had never even come up in any of my relationships for us to do something like that before. But we were married almost 11 years. And in that time, we had like 2 fights.
Wow.
Because we had already talked out everything ahead of time. And I already knew how he was going to react to some things. It wasn't a surprise. And he already knew how I was going to react to some things. So we went into the relationship having this very clear picture of how the other person thought and how they felt about certain things and how they would react to certain things. And of all the things we did wrong, which we did a lot wrong, that was the one thing we did right. And it made our relationship so peaceful because we knew where each other stood, and it would be good if you have that kind of consistency, because we didn't in a sense change about those things. It would be one thing if you have that conversation with somebody and they change up every 5 minutes.
Right.
They feel this way one day and this way the next day. It wouldn't work then, but for us that really worked. I think that having those kind of conversations where you really talk about expectations and boundaries, it also gives you a sense of security because you kind of know what to expect from that person. And
Right.
it kind of makes you feel powerful because you also know what you can do, your limits, and what you can't do or what you shouldn't do, which we already know some things we shouldn't do, but kind of gives us some insight. So let's talk a minute about empowerment. How do you think that having boundaries can kind of empower somebody? What do you think about that topic?
I guess it would empower people because they would know like how much their decisions can hold weight in their own lives, because sometimes people make really snap decisions and they don't even realize they're making those decisions, whether it's just hanging out with a friend or spending an extra night at your man's house or whatever. Those little decisions, they can mean a lot in the grand scheme of things. So I feel like having those boundaries is going to lead people toward a certain path to where they can be right on the goal that they want to be at.
I can agree with that. My name is Zennurgy, and I have a weekly podcast called Zennurgy, which is fuel for the mind, body, and soul. And this is the Zennurgy Your Life Goal Setting Package, Volume 1. It comes with the workbook, a journal, stickers, a bookmark, tabs, and a QR code where you can find my podcast. And inside this workbook, you're going to have 16 different principles. The first one, I'm going to show you mine, is abundance. You have a place to put pictures that inspire you of role models, also pictures of goals that you want to create, goals, journal prompts, meditations, affirmations, all kinds of things to help you focus on this principle to better your life. And like I said, there's 16 principles. So this is a $15 package that comes with all of these things I've shown you, $21 with shipping and handling, and you can get it at laughsandlyrics.com. So Zennurgy your life with me. Thank you.